I trust Social Security more than the investment markets. This is one of the things about Social Security I think a lot of people miss. Hope y'all can hear this, by the way. Is Social Security is guaranteed. Guaranteed for payment, guaranteed for COLAs, should they happen. Guaranteed never to go down in value. Now you can discount that, say our government is corrupt. I mean, I get all that, dude, what I'm saying. You can say, well, the government's corrupt, you know, the government's going bankrupt, BRICS are going to dominate. I get all that stuff. It's just, so the alternative, of course, is what exactly? The investment markets, corporate bonds, corporate stocks. I mean, well, you can invest overseas in China, in the BRICS. You know, China, I just read this morning, has a debt to GDP of 300% if you factor in local debts, and there's a ton of debts that are not even on book. We have the same thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like U.S. is a bastion of freaking self-reliance and well-managed finances. I get it. I mean, come on. But every country out there, man, every country. I mean, China is no exempt. I don't know about India. I don't know. I haven't looked. Frankly, I think India is probably going to be. I actually think India will probably be. What the hell is that? Oh, it's just a. Okay, it's a leaf. I thought it was some kind of animal. I was like, dude, he's looking at me kind of crazy. I mean, I think India. I don't know the first thing about India. I just know that Bharat is what they're calling it now, which is pretty cool if you ask me. I like the fact they're getting rid of their colonial name. But I think India is probably where the 20th, we're the 21st century, yeah, 22nd century will probably be booming. I mean, they speak English. They're a hardworking group of people. You know, there's lots going wrong with India too. Never been there. I will never go there. I don't like curry, whatever. But I know a lot of Indians who are freaking just kicking ass and taking names. But there's a lot of issues there for sure, you know, because of colonialism that happened. In fact, it's interesting. It's just in my Thomas Sowell book I'm reading. I was just reading about the Igbos in Nigeria, southern Nigeria, how they started their country in 1967, Biafra, it was actually pretty interesting stuff there, and how they were slaughtered. But no one ever hears about that because the black people are slaughtering black people. You hardly ever hear. You know, like in Rwanda, remember that, the Hutus and Tutsis and stuff. You just hear about it, you know, kind of secondary notice, but you don't hear about it to the extent that if white people are doing the slaughtering, we all gotta say sorry. But when other people do it, yeah, it's just, you know, it's the soft bigotry of low expectations. Anyway, so going back to the stock market and bond market, the idea that any politician is going to have Social Security subject. Morning. Hi, puppy. Hi. They're going to have Social Security subject to declines because of a debt. Check that door. It's so freaking stupid, man. They're not going to reduce your Social Security. It just, again, as I say 1,000 times a Sunday, if they were to reduce your, I was just reading today about the homes. My man over there at Mishtalk, I got a bone to pick with that guy, and I'll do another video on that. All good, friendly stuff. But he had talked about, he goes, there is a real estate crash right now. It's in transactions, might not be in prices yet, but it's in transactions. And he goes, you think about it, the effects on lack of people moving, what does that do for carpet layers, new appliances, moving companies, realtors? You think about the residue of the real estate market just coming to a halt. We got the same number of year-over-year sales, 4 million, that we did like in 1982 or something like that. And how many people are living in the United States in 1982? 200 million? Now we got 390 million when you factor in all the illegals. I mean, and we only got 4 million sales? How many people are relying on people buying new homes or buying new to them homes? Because every time you buy a home, you know what you do. You spend on furniture, you spend on new carpeting, all that stuff. when you're living in your house, and we've been in our house for 10 years, still got the same old fridge. Just talked to a guy the other day, an appliance guy who just crushes here in Georgia, good guy. He said, yeah, you usually get about 10 to 12 years for a fridge. I said, well, we're in year 11. We feel pretty good about that. Seems like it's still going fine. I said, it's always been like that? He goes, yeah, man. He goes, this idea that the new stuff is any worse than the old stuff, silly. The issue is that to replace the new stuff, you need a degree in electrical engineering and computer boards and stuff. Because, yeah, he said a lot of repair guys, repairing a fridge is not a very profitable endeavor for them, he said, because of so much effort that goes into it. So anyway, the idea that these new products are just horrible compared to the way they used to be, he says, no, it's just not true. I mean, and he says, I'm sure there's some products, but generally speaking. And then he said dishwasher every 5 to 7 years, I think is what he said. Don't quote me on that, because I sworn is what he said. And that's almost exactly what happened to us. We got ours for about 10 years, and we just had to replace it. So we feel pretty good there. And I forgot what he said about, I don't think I asked about a range, actually. But anyway, he's an appliance repair guy, been doing that his whole life, and he's getting ready to hang up the boots at some point. You know, he doesn't know when. But anyway, so the point being is, you know, you got to replace, you know, anytime you move to a house, you buy a new fridge, all this stuff, man. So what's the residual of that coming to a halt? A screeching halt, by the way. I don't know, man. I mean, you know, less consumer demand. You know, remember, consumer expenditures are 70% of GDP, and that's a fact. Now, you could easily say the broken window theory, which would absolutely apply here, that if they're not spending their money on, you know, on new fridges and whatnot, they're spending their money elsewhere. That's for sure. You can't overlook that. In economic theory, it's called the broken window theory. We should break a window to keep the window maker employed. But the guy then, and that's what we see. If I break your window, you have to hire the window maker to repair that window. And you see that labor being done and the transaction costs and all that. What you don't see, though, because you have to pay for the window being rebuilt, you don't buy a new suit, for instance, new tennis shoes, something like that. So what is seen and unseen, both Henry Hazlitt has written about that, Frederick Bastiat has written about that, the seen and unseen. So just because we can actually see that the carpet builder makers, you know, guys laying out carpet, the utility guy, appliance guys and all that, aren't getting paid. That money is also being diverted to someplace else. What exactly? I don't know. You know, freaking going to University of Georgia football games with 92,000 of your best friends. You know, Penn State had 110,000 at their game the other day. So someone's spending money on this stuff. You know, it's probably going to all that Bud Light beer that Penn State fans like. They love their Bud Light with Dylan Mulvaney. They're big fans. I want my Bud Light. I like Penn State. No, that was funny. That was funny. Georgia fans, though, what do we like? We just like Tennessee whiskey. Yeah. Tennessee whiskey. Anyway, so Social Security is the safest investment there is in terms of your ability to have a guaranteed income stream. There's just no two ways around that. Relying on dividends, relying off even CDs, relying on stocks appreciating, relying on freaking municipal bonds. Social Security is the safest investment there is. And what I always tell people when I do my financial plans, that's what I say all the time. I gather up Millie's Social Security. I say, Millie, your Social Security is $2,500 a month. You have no debt on your home. The worst case scenario, the literally worst case scenario, you'll have a home that's paid for with $30,000 a year in Social Security, which won't be taxed, by the way. I mean, Millie, can you get by on that? And the answer is unequivocally all the time, yes, I can. How do we know this? Simple, because Millie, if you have your mortgage paid off, a couple things going on there. It means you've been in your house for a long time. I can't stress how important it is to have longevity in your home. I mean, this is our 11th year in this house, and the amount of equity we've accumulated just from paying down the debt, never mind appreciation. I mean, you stay in your home for 15, 20 years, I can almost guarantee you're going to be good to go when it comes to retirement. Now, not most people, I don't know, I can't say that for sure. Hopefully, most people haven't refinanced to the hilt and used that money to go on Disney cruise vacations, whatever the hell it is. Hopefully, you refinanced for sure, but you took that money, you didn't take that money out and consume it. I don't think most people did, at least the people I talked to. You know what I'm saying? Because most people say, look, I don't want to have a debt. I'm certainly not going to have my debt extend for 30 years so I can go on a stupid Disney vacation. You see what I'm saying? I mean, some of y'all have. I dealt with them when I was in the bank all the time. Crazy. I really deserve a vacation. So I'm going to refinance my house. Get a cash out refi, $50,000 bucks. I'm going to take the whole crew on vacation. And you're like, that's fine if you got no other debt or whatever, but you still got a mortgage. You still got car loans. You still got those consumer loans. I think you got a spending issue. But if that's what they want to do, is their choice. When I was in banking, if they're a client of mine, I'm saying, hell no, we won't go. It's nuts. You got a spending issue, man. Sorry, but you've already spent your freaking Disney vacation. Anyway, so the point being is, if you've been in your home for 15, 20 years, that shows longevity. You're not too quick on the draw to, like, I got to move to Tacoma, Washington. There's a better job there. And then you got to move to San Diego. There's a better job there. And, you know, every time you buy and sell a home, it's freaking crazy expensive, dude. The move, closing costs, all that stuff. It's nuts how much that costs. And then people get all upset about reverse mortgage costs. It's like, yeah, reverse mortgage, I get it. The cost ain't cheap. But refinance isn't cheap either. Let's not discount the one for the other to prove that the other is expensive. So if I'm sitting there with old Millie, I say, Millie, the worst case scenario is you're living on Social Security with no debt. Yeah, I don't want that to happen. It's not actually likely to happen. But that's always what I start with. And I start with people that got, say a $500 a month pension for just simplicity. So I talked to these guys on Friday, similar scenario. So in that case, it's $3,000 a month. That $500 a month pension covers your Medicare, $2,500 a month cash money, tax-free, and you got no debt. That's the worst case scenario. So even if our Monte Carlo says you only have a 60% probability of success, I always go back to what's your worst case scenario? You're living on $3,000 a month with no debt and you're single? Yeah, dude, it's tough to make that argument. But I'd rather have that any day of the week over stocks that give me, $25,000 a year or whatever, $2,500 a month in dividends. Those stocks can go down. But do we not remember? How many times have we seen it? Oh, but dividends don't go down. You nuts? Now, this isn't a bash on dividends. I love dividends. I'm building a dividend portfolio myself. But I'll be damned if I build a dividend portfolio in lieu of my Social Security. My Social Security is my freaking bread and butter, man. That's what you look at. Look at Social Security as your cornerstone. This is what I use to basically live. It's not what I use to enjoy, but it's what I use to live. Can't get season tickets to the Atlanta Braves on Social Security, but I can put food in my house, pay the utility bill, and heat my home. And food in my fridge, pay the utility bill, and heat the home. And maybe on occasion go to a Braves game or something like that. You're not going to live large on that. I'm okay with that. But if we're at a 61% probability of success, and we're in the 40% of times you ran out of money, and Social Security is all you got, and you got no debt, you're going to be okay. I'd absolutely rather take that than a 50% potential decline in the markets, a la October 2007 to March 9th of 2009. A 57% decline. And if you think dividends stayed tight, you're freaking wrong, dude. You don't know the hell you're talking about. Just look at the bank dividends. Why were they paying 1 cent each? Oh, to make sure the preferred shareholders got paid. But if you're relying on those bank dividends, I'm relying on Enron, WorldCom, IBM. people walk up on me, so it's kind of embarrassing talking to the camera. Love your thoughts. Gotta go. See ya.